Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on Mountains of Illinois in the version of Clive Carroll. As always, only the first part will be released on YouTube. For full access, please head over to my brand new website or my Patreon page. The difference between the two is explained on the landing page. If you want the tab or notation file, then do visit the website, as you will get a nice discount on music notes if you order the tab there. So I recently got a load of messages asking me to make a lesson on this tune. Usually when a song is requested multiple times in a short time frame, it means someone posted a version of it. In this case, it was Swedish guitar virtuoso Emil Ernebro who played his version of the tune when he visited the Dutch acoustic specialty shop Fellowship of Acoustics. After some digging around, I found out that the tune was originally written by Chet, Atkins and Pat Bergeson, but the original was played with a full band. Tommy Emmanuel then started playing the tune as a solo version, and this was the version I transcribed first. You might ask, why are we looking at the version by Clive Carroll then? Well, Tommy and Clive toured together, and during this tour, Mr. Carroll fell in love with the tune and made his own version based on the work Tommy had already done. And in short, Mr. Carroll has done most of the heavy work for me this time. Normally, a big part of what I do is looking for alternative ways to play difficult sections, and here Mr. Carroll has done exactly that. If I compare his version to Tommy's version, they are very similar, but Mr. Carroll has gotten rid of all the sections with the thumb over the side of the neck, while adding a few spicy fills and variations that are very colorful, but nowhere as difficult to play as the stuff Tommy plays. But there is more. Mr. Carroll plays this tune with fingers, or should I say fingernails, while Tommy goes for hybrid picking. Now, this is a unique opportunity to compare both techniques, so I'm going to do a lesson on both versions. We start out with the finger-picked version of Clive Carroll, and then we will move on to Tommy's hybrid-picked version and showcase the difference between each technical approach. Now, just to be clear, I don't mean any disrespect by referring to Mr. Carroll's version as being easier. I've been eager to cover something by Mr. Carroll for a while now, and he is an absolute fingerstyle master. Tommy often refers to him as one of my favorite guitarists, and in some interviews, Tommy has even admitted that Clive Carroll is the only solo acoustic guitar player he regularly listens to. Now that is high praise indeed. Okay, straight to playing then. My guitar is in standard tuning, although Tommy's and Clive Carroll's guitar is often tuned down a half a step or a full step. I thought it was just going to be a little bit easier to go for standard tuning, so you won't have to retune or grab another guitar each and every time you want to try a section of the lesson. I used my trusty old Martin with really clear position markings, since we will be moving up and down the neck quite a lot. I'm going to play this purely fingerstyle, traditional, no thumb pick, no flat pick, but you can play this almost any way you want. Emil Ernebro uses a thumb pick, Clive Carroll uses really long fingernails, and I'm just going to use the flesh tips of my fingers, as I always do when playing without a thumb pick or a flat pick. That is all. Let's dive straight into the first verse. I'm already going to dip a little bit below concert speed. Here we go. number 2. Nothing too tricky going on, but it is all quite delicate. You start with 2 open E strings on top, and then low open E string, ring finger 9th fret on the D string, index finger 7th fret on the B string, and you're going to hammer on with the pinky to the 9th fret on the B string straight away. As an embellishment, I'm using the thumb, index finger and ring finger to pick that first chord. You remove the index finger, you drop down to the 8th fret with the pinky and the ring finger, and you pluck and slide down to the 7th fret right away. Open E string, and then you slide back up from the 8th fret, again ring finger and pinky, to the 9th fret again. Always on the D string and B string. It's a good time to point out that we are in a bar of 3. So if you want to count along, it's always going to be up to 3, not to 4. So you get 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. On the first beat you end back up on the 9th fret. Then you drop down a small E triad on the D string, G string and B string, ring finger 6th fret on the D string, index finger 4th fret on the G string, middle finger 5th fret on the B string, and you're plucking that chord, thumb, middle finger and index finger, and immediately you shift up the index finger to the 5th fret, giving you an E augmented chord. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just the second and third beat is just having that one chord and have it ring out. Then another E bass note, and then we're moving into an A chord. Open A string, middle finger 6th fret on the G string, index finger 5th fret on the high E string, and we're going to hammer on straight away with the ring finger to the 7th fret on the G string and the pinky to the 7th fret on the high E string, while playing that A string. Then, this is, if you want to go for the easy option, this is all you have to do. And move straight back down to the 6th fret and 5th fret. If you want to go like the full option, then you hammer on, you slide up to the 8th fret with both the ring finger and the pinky and straight back down to the 7th fret. And then you go back to the first sort of A-shaped 6th interval with the 6th fret and the 5th fret. The full option sounds like this. And whichever version you watch, that slide up and down is slower or quicker. You can sort of play around until it feels right for you. Tommy has the habit of doing this really fast, doing that hammer on pull off and slide really quickly. And in some Clive Carroll versions, the hammer on and the slide up and down is a little bit more relaxed. Whatever you do, then you play an open E string underneath and you move the index finger down one more fret to the 4th fret, middle finger 5th fret on the B string, ring finger 6th fret on the G string. Looks sort of like a part of a C sharp minor chord, but it's, I think, meant as an A major 7th voicing here. So low E string, small chord chip, and then moving further down with the index finger, 2nd fret on the high E string, pinky 5th fret on the B string, ring finger 5th fret on the G string. This is the chord Tommy usually plays. Mr. Carroll adds the middle finger to the 4th fret on the D string as well, giving you a full A minor 6th voicing. That middle finger is more or less optional. You're not really picking that note, I think, anywhere in the tune, but it does help if you want to do a few strums in between every now and then. It does help to have that middle finger down there. If it feels too tricky to put it down, or if this chord shape is already asking a lot, then just stick to this. It will sound fine. Those were basically the first 4 bars, because after that one chord, you just drop down an A bass note, and that's it. And then all you have to do is play the leading into the next section, which is an open E string, and back to the second fret. Those first 4 bars. And then we move back to the next section. Before we do that, maybe let me just count along one time. Always that count of 3, so you really get into that sense of time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. So all the way at the end, you're holding down that chord, open E string, putting down the index finger on the 2nd fret again, and then you drop the ring finger down to the 4th fret on the G string, and you remove everything else. Low E string, G string, and high E string at the same time, hammering on with the pinky to the 4th fret, sliding up to the 5th fret, and back down to the 4th fret. Tommy again does this just with the pinky, and in some versions by Clive Carroll, I can see that ring finger sneak up to the 5th fret as well. Really quickly. It's not ideal, but if you play it this fast, it doesn't really stand out. But if it is possible, then move up the pinky by itself. If it is too tricky, it sounds out of tune if you do it this slow, but up to tempo, it's gone so quickly that most people won't even register what just happened. So on the first beat, back to the 2nd fret, and to an open E string. We're keeping the ring finger where it is. We're adding the middle finger to the 4th fret on the A string, the index finger to the 2nd fret on the D string, and the pinky to the 4th fret on the B string, giving you C sharp minor 9th. Again, if the chord shape is tricky, then you can let go of the index finger. Just make sure that you don't pluck the D string while doing this. If you're holding it down, you're going to play thumb on the A string and then index finger, middle finger, ring finger on the D string, G string, and B string. Moving over to an open E string, and then you have to let go of the index finger anyway to play the 2nd fret on the high E string. So for larger hands, full C sharp minor 9th chord, and moving over to the F sharp. For smaller hands, just go for this chord shape. Leave out the D string, open E string, and then use the index finger on the high E string. Timing on that first beat is a bit special. You're playing that first D sharp on top really briefly. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that's a sort of rhythm that you're going to encounter only once on this chord in this tune. So, and then you shift up with the index finger to the 3rd fret, and you slide straight back down to the 2nd fret. And then you quickly let go of everything, and you drop down a full bar on the 2nd fret. You're going to play the G string and high E string at the same time, just holding down the bar, and then hammer on to the 3rd fret on the G string. If possible, as an embellishment, so that hammer on has to be really quick. Low E string, 2nd fret, ring finger, 4th fret on the A string, and then just a full chord. By now you're holding down an F sharp dominant chord. Those first 2 bars leading up to the F sharp chord. First section of that F chord is just a thumb on the low E string, thumb on the A string, a soft strum down, and then repicking the high E string. Then you drop down the ring finger and pinky on the 3rd fret on the D string and B string. You're going to slide up to the 4th fret, then drop down the index finger, 2nd fret on the high E string in the triplet form. So 1, 2, 3, 1. Repick the 4th fret, D string and B string, and now you're going to slide down, but you're not really going to connect this slide. Along the way, you're going to let go and you're going to end up on the 1st fret, index finger, on the D string, together with an open B string. Timing here is really important to make this work. So first you have a triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So that slide down, you let go along the way. That's an first 8th note, then the second 8th note swing feel, the 1st fret and the open string, and then you add middle finger on the 2nd fret, low E string, ring finger 2nd fret on the A string, you keep down the index finger on the D string, and you add the pinky to the 2nd fret on the G string. And you're going to add 2 open strings, the open B string and the open E string all the way at the end. This is roughly a B dominant chord with an F sharp in the bass with a few extra colorful notes on top. The timing on that triplet is something to really watch out for. Otherwise, that slide lick is never going to feel right. Let me add it all together, starting on the F sharp chord. And all the way at the end, it's all triplets. Maybe even slower. Let me count along. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Now, if you're playing through this section, make use of those last few open strings to already move back up to the 7th fret, because you're going to have to play that exact same hammer-on we used all the way in the first bar, and those 2 open strings give you a split second more to get into the right position. So you get something like this then. See? So during those 2 last open strings, I'm letting go of everything and I'm moving back to the 7th fret. I hope that section with the triplet and the slide going down is clear by now. Let me recap everything and play the first 8 bars one more time. The 7th and the 9th fret. Make sure in those first 8 bars they are quite open, that you don't speed up. Every long note should have its place and you shouldn't be rushing through this section. So maybe one more time while I count along so that you see that it is actually just in tempo all the way through, and there's always just 3 counts per bar. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. See, that pulse of 3 never ends. It just keeps going and we're not stretching or compressing everything. It's right in time. On to the next 8 bars, and we're starting with familiar material. Same fingerings. Now the single thing has been changed. We're just adding a light strum and an extra bass note now. 1, 2, 3. So before that, on that second beat, nothing really happened. Now we're playing the hammer-on. A soft strum, soft across the top string. Make sure that you mute the G string. You only want to hear the D string, B string, and high E string. And another E bass note in between there before we slide down to the 7th fret, as we did before. If I count along, 1, 2, up until now in the second bar, no changes as well. Now we're playing an open E string. We're going to remove the index finger and play the 4th fret on the low E string. Moving into the A chord. Those 2 bars together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The lead in into the next bar is bass note and then 5th fret on the B string and an open E string, which is the same note. No difference. So the last beat is 1, 2, 3, 1. Moving into the A chord. So all the way at the end it's a triplet, bass note, B string, E string. Moving into the A chord. Same chord shapes, no difference, but we are starting to add the embellishments. If the chords by itself still feel tricky, leave them out for the moment. Adding in those slides is something that can be done relatively easy later on. If it already feels comfortable, then all we're doing is, instead of playing that chord on the 4th fret with the index finger, we're just sliding up from 1 fret below. And then we're moving down to the A chord, but we're starting with the index finger on the 3rd fret and sliding down to the 2nd fret. So in total, this gives this. And then you add another A bass string. And now we're going to fill up that bar on the A minor chord. Before we move into the turnaround section. So that bar on the A minor 6th chord is now, we have the melody note that sounds in front of the beat or sounds out from before the first beat. 2, 3, 1, 2. First 2 beats is bass note, picking, in this case, the G string. Any other string would work. Strumming down softly on the chord and re-picking the high E string. Back to the A string and then pick the ring finger, 5th fret on the G string, move to the index finger, 3rd fret on the G string, and then add the middle finger on the 4th fret on the low E string and the ring finger on the 4th fret on the G string. That G minor chord is going to be the next chord, or that G sharp minor, chord shape is going to be for the next bar. First, let me add those last 4 bars together back to back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Ending up on the middle finger and the ring finger 4th fret, and you can drop down the pinky on the 4th fret on the high E string as well, straight away. That's the first beat of the next bar, just E string and G string together to the high E string, and then shift over the middle finger from the 4th fret on the low E string to the 4th fret on the A string. Then you let go of the pinky, open B string, open E string, and then with the index finger you drop down on the 2nd fret and you quickly play another one of those as embellishments, a really quick pull off to the open string again. After that quick embellishment pull off to the 2nd fret with the index finger on the G string, to the middle finger 3rd fret, and we're going to move into again an F sharp dominant chord, the one we played before. So all we're playing of that chord is just that 3rd fret, low E string, high E string, before we move up, open A string, index finger 1st fret, middle finger 2nd fret, and then ring finger 2nd fret on the G string to an open G string, to the 1st fret, and we're landing on a standard E chord, middle finger, ring finger, 2nd fret on the A string and D string, index finger, 1st fret on the G string. Now let's add the timing to that, because we're moving between triplets and swing 8th notes quite a bit in this last section. Let me count along. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. All the way at the end, we're just playing 2 strums on that E chord. 1, 2, 3. So bass note, open E string softly, and then strumming down on the second beat and on the third beat. Then again, open A string, first fret, second fret, exactly as before. And now we're moving into an A chord with B in the bass. Lost track there for a second. So that middle finger sticks to the second fret on the A string, then a ring finger and pinky second fret on the G string and B string together with an open E string. You pluck the bass note first, then index finger, middle finger, plug the G string and B string, and then we're going to be strumming up and down. And on the last beat, we remove the pinky and we drop down the index finger on the first fret of the B string. So 1, 2, 3, 1, and moving back up to the 9th fret. Again, the same chord shape. Those last 2 bars, the E chord and the B chord. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Again, pulling back slightly on the timing to make that big shift. Also, make sure that when you're strumming that A over B chord, that you're muting the D string in between there. It's not supposed to ring out. Those last 4 bars, I think, are the trickiest part of the whole song, especially in terms of timing and rhythm. So one more time while I count along. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Those last 8 bars all the way through. And now one more time through the whole first verse. The good news is you can already play more than half of the song. There is not that much new material heading your way, at least when it comes to the verse. Let me slap on the magnet straight away so you can have a good look at the picking hand as well. Verse number 1. Take all the time you need, as always, to get this down, and I'll see you again soon in part 2 for verse number 2. Take care.